Last week, one of the top 20 freight brokers announced to shippers that any load can be part of their drop and hook program. This means instead of a truck driver arriving with an empty trailer, backing it up to a warehouse dock, and then sitting for hours to get loaded, and then doing the same thing at the receiver, the driver instead just arrives with the truck and no trailer, picks up a trailer that has been preloaded, and then takes it to its destination and drops it off. This sounds like a great solution for shippers, trucking companies, and drivers. So, to take a closer look at what this means for truck drivers and carriers, we're diving deep into trailers. Caravans, RVs, camper vans, motorhomes, fifth wheels, overlanders, motor coachers. Wait, okay, even though this is Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial beginning of camping season, we're not talking about those trailers. We're talking about the most common trailer on the highway, the 53-foot swing door, air ride, wood floor, aluminum roof, sliding tandem logistics post food grade dry van. If you've been rolling with us on this channel, you might remember me lamenting the struggles of finding a trailer for my own company. None of these are trailers for me. All of these are used, and a major contributor to the problem of no trailer availability is that brokers have been snatching them up. More specifically, leasing companies like McKinney, Extra Lease, Premier, and Milestone have been snatching them up and then leasing them to brokers. So you can see all of these trailers over here, these Premier leasing trailers, say Convoy, CIAN on the side. Those are all part of Convoy's trailer pool. So you can see that they have quite a few here. How has this been going for these brokers and their thousands of trailers? Well, it's clear why shippers and brokers love this model, but what about the carrier and the driver perspective? Let's take a look. Over Memorial Day weekend, I thought I'd try and see if this product makes sense to me as a carrier. I would leave the Friday before Memorial Day weekend and return before the work week started back up again on Memorial Day. I'm running this as a test of both the economics as well as the workflow for drivers. Ideally, I can make some money after all expenses are paid and the shipments don't put an undue burden on drivers. I'll go over the gross revenue of this trip. Stick around and I'll give my take on the true benefits and risks of taking these types of shipments. Okay, first, the money. This shipment was from Puyallup, Washington to Palo Alto, California, on to Tracy, California, and then Stockton, and finally back to Puyallup. The actual power-only leg, the leg that I was actually taking goods that needed to be moved from one place to another, was the Puyallup to Palo Alto leg. This paid $546. The trailer return, which was booked with that first leg, was from Tracy back to Puyallup, and it paid more than double the rate at $1,170 due to just the market rates of that lane. So the booked trip was a total of $1,900. $1,900 is not worth getting out of bed for if it takes 4 days of running a full clock on a holiday weekend. That's right around $475 a day. However, since I was taking an empty trailer from Tracy to Puyallup, part of the broker's value proposition is to also take another shipment. This is called a loadout. So I looked for a load that would work. Finding a shipment that will align with all the given timing and location constraints is not trivial. The timelines for delivery of the original shipment as well as the trailer return is typically very tight. Understandably, the broker wants to maximize trailer utilization. But I was able to give them a call and get the window to return the trailer extended a little bit. So my hunt for a shipment from Palo Alto to Puyallup began. I ended up finding a load of beverages to bring back. This shipment paid $2,765, bringing the weekend total to $4,665. Nothing to write home about, but it does cross the $1,000 a day threshold at about $2.82 per mile, which is well above my operating cost per mile and even above my 6-week trailing average rate per mile. So if everything goes as planned, this trip checks the economics box. The first stop was a cakewalk. I pull in, give the guard shack the reference ID. He tells me the general area where I can find the trailer, and I just need to let him know which spot I took it from on the way out. On a live load, the driver normally gets a chance to see the inside of the trailer and can get a quick and dirty evaluation of how the trailer was loaded and the weight distributed. But in this case, the doors were sealed long before I arrived, so I headed to a scale just to make sure I was legal. Weighing is super easy. We use an app that links to the scale network, and a certified document is sent right to our email address, so no need to leave the truck. I make my way to the drop. Remember, I'm still a brand new CDL holder. In fact, this is my very first actual load. So while this dock is probably nothing new to most drivers, this drop had me fairly wide-eyed. The loading dock wasn't behind the store where I would normally have expected it to be, but I actually had to drive into the second floor of the parking garage. I have already experienced being somewhere that a semi-truck should not be, and I do not want to relive that experience. So being in this garage had me a little nervous. Cars were coming in, posts and walls were threatening me, the ceiling seemed low. Finally, I did see another truck and my blood could return to its normal operating pressure. The next challenge was getting this trailer into the hole. Again, I'm a rookie driver, and this spot called for the dreaded alley dock. I can do it in theory, but pulling off this maneuver with a loaded full-size trailer instead of an empty single-axle 28-footer I learned on is different. After finally getting it in, I do a quick inspection, drop the trailer so the store can unload it at their leisure. I hooked up to a new empty trailer and I was on my way. Empty trailer in tow, I stopped by the water bottler and I grabbed my load for the return trip. By tomorrow afternoon, I should be dropping off the load and then the trailer and be ready to start the work week with a successful test completed. Well, as is typically the case in trucking, this trip wasn't actually completely smooth. The exceptions are where most of the risks of running a drop shipment are introduced. If something goes off the rails and you have a trailer, it's still a problem, but at least you can find a load. On a power-only shipment, when things go wrong, you have to solve two problems. You need a replacement load and a trailer, which for a new carrier is incredibly difficult. On this load, the appointments that were originally scheduled didn't leave much room for any errors. Early in the trip, I had a navigational error. Okay, I got lost. And then I hit traffic in Portland. These two incidents meant that I did not hit that 8 a.m. deadline to deliver to IKEA in Palo Alto. I let the broker know what my actual ETA was well in advance, but they didn't respond, so I headed to the drop anyway. I realized when I arrived that the reason for the cutoff time was that the loading dock would be full of shoppers if I didn't come in the delivery window. That led to a bit of a mess trying to back out of an IKEA parking lot on a Saturday over a 3-day weekend. A kind security guard wondering what the heck I was doing with a big truck in a shopping center did try to offer some assistance, and there was no major incident. I'm quite sure the sidewalk didn't mind supporting my truck for just a few minutes. So I couldn't deliver until the next day. The broker went through their processes and sent me a message saying that my new appointment was in 2 days at 3 a.m., which of course didn't work for me, and they didn't seem to have any idea that I was on another one of their loads the same day. If I had just relied on them, it would have meant a canceled load and an extra 2 days on my trip. Another problem was picking up the empty trailer. The broker had me scheduled to go to another town to pick up the trailer. During calls with the broker, though, they mentioned that the trailer yard I was scheduled to go to was closed during my appointment and would be closed the next day as well. So completing the load as built wasn't even possible in the first place. I worked with the shipper directly instead of the broker, and we actually solved both problems, the drop-off and the empty trailer pickup at the IKEA store. Now I had a third problem. It was my return load. At the first sign of the delay, I had reached out to the broker, but they didn't seem to take any action until the following day when they realized I didn't make the original pickup, and that's when I started getting calls back. They didn't know if I would be able to pick up and just asked me to work it out with that shipper as well. It really depends on who the broker, shipper, and receivers are when it comes to these issues. Exceptions occurring are not really exceptions. They're actually more common than everything going to plan. But depending on how they are dealt with, they either become huge issues that derail the entire week, or just remain little blips. There were about 4 ways this load could have gone wrong. One scenario would have left me with 5 days of work for $546 and an uncomfortable bobtail drive back 800 miles. That has happened before, which is another huge risk of broker trailer pools. Without your own trailer, you are at the mercy of the broker to find a way to get you out of wherever you are if you want to leave with a load. Back on my trip, after figuring out all the issues, I arrive at the distribution center to get unloaded only a few hours late. They get me unloaded right away, and the next day when I have enough drive hours, I drop off my trailer and I complete the trip. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how can I help you?
I am dropping off an empty trailer for convoy for you. All right, so in case you couldn't hear him, what he asked me to do was make sure I slide my tandems and lock them all the way to the back. They like you to do that because it helps them load. To go into the lot and drop this trailer. He said he wants me to drop it between 5:20 and 6:12. This is an IKEA facility, so obviously they have a lot of stuff coming in and out of here. You can see there's a lot of containers to the left, so that means a lot of this stuff is coming in from a port, and then it's going into these over-the-road trailers to get distributed probably just throughout the West Coast. I'll be honest, I don't really know. I don't have any inside information on that. But we are in Seattle, where there is a pretty major shipping port coming from Asia, and I'm not sure if there's anything coming from Europe. Sometimes these yard hostlers have some opinions about the way you drive and what you're doing in the yard, so you want to just kind of be careful and make sure you're just being safe. So he said to come down here and hang a left. So this trip from this IKEA where we started down to Palo Alto, drop off an IKEA, over to Stockton, California, pick up some bottled water, and then a drop off back here near IKEA. Took about 4 days. It wasn't a perfect trip. There were some issues. The issues were just related to scheduling mostly. little bit of miscommunications with the broker, and so no big deal. I had to just kind of figure it out, which is totally normal. Okay, looking for 520 and 612. So there's 612. So I can actually drop off right here. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna look for 520 just to see what we've got. Okay, I can drop anywhere over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn around. So what about the benefits that the brokers often point to when selling this product? Well, the biggest one that they point to is reduced wait time. I definitely had a much faster load time when I originally picked that first load up. But it's typically the unload that can hold up a driver, and my unload was still about 2 hours. I still had to wait for the receivers to get off lunch, and they had me wait while they unloaded the empty trailer that I had to take with me. So that's probably a wash. Another benefit cited is wear and tear or downtime of owned trailers. This is great in theory, but the trailer pools don't seem to be maintained during non-utilized times. That means when the trailer does need a repair, it's usually whoever the unlucky driver is that happens to have it that gets stuck waiting for the mobile repair unit, the tire shop, or whatever the issue is. I'd say about 30% of the time I've taken trailers from a pool, I've had to get a repair done. My hunch is that some carriers are less diligent when it comes to pulling equipment that needs a little maintenance. So in this case, my trailers are pretty well maintained, so the time I spend waiting for maintenance is actually much lower because I maintain my trailers during my downtime. The big question here, would I rely on taking power-only loads regularly? Probably not. But would I use these shipments to supplement my network when needed? The answer, as a wise man once told me, as in all things in freight, it depends. I think these programs are only going to grow and become more common with greater shipment density. The brokers will start to figure out all the potential issues and they'll mitigate them. The risk of getting stuck without a trailer is greatly reduced when more shippers and brokers start offering these power-only products, and the maintenance issue is very solvable. I'll keep taking them at a minimum to support the product and help improve it where I can. So the players that I use that are growing their trailer pools are, of course, Convoy, JB Hunt, and then the biggest player of all, Amazon. I predict that in about 3 years, it will be a much more dense mode and that choices for shippers and carriers alike will be greater. What do you think? As a driver, do you like these drop and hook trips? Are you a fleet owner that has incorporated this product into your regular weekly shipments? I'd love to hear from you. Start a conversation in the comments. If you found this video helpful, I'd love if you rolled with us again, and until next time, keep the shiny side up.